A light breeze swept through the deserted park, lifting dry leaves into small whirlwinds beneath a gray, threatening sky. Simon, a 3-year-old boy blind from birth, was playing quietly near his mother. The park, surrounded by dense forest, seemed like a safe place to spend the afternoon. But in an instant, everything changed. Francesca had become distracted while answering her phone. When she looked up, Simon was no longer beside her. Panic gripped her. "Simon! Where are you?" Drawn by a distant sound, Simon had wandered off among the trees, unaware of the danger. As his heart pounded, he called, "Mom, help." But his small voice was lost among the rustling leaves and the wind. Alone and disoriented, he stretched out his hands, searching for something familiar. Suddenly, a presence emerged, a stray dog with rough fur and deep eyes. Thin but determined, the dog seemed to understand Simon's distress. It barked softly, a sound that reassured rather than frightened. Simon froze, feeling the dog's warm breath near his hand. "Who are you?" Simon whispered. The dog gently nudged his hand, as if guiding him. Despite his fear, Simon felt an unexpected sense of comfort and began to follow the dog's quiet footsteps. Meanwhile, Francesca was frantically searching, her voice cracking as she called for her son. Strangers joined in the search, but no one had seen him. Then, a man spotted tiny footprints in the wet ground. Francesca clung to that hope and followed the tracks. The dog stopped abruptly. A sudden noise came from the underbrush, and the dog positioned itself between Simon and the sound, growling low. A large deer burst from the trees before vanishing. The dog licked Simon's hand to reassure him and continued leading him away from danger. Hearing Francesca's distant voice, the dog barked loudly. "Mom!" Simon cried. They were separated by a swollen stream with treacherous currents. The dog sensed the danger and pushed Simon away from the edge, barking furiously to attract the rescuer's attention. Francesca arrived just in time to see the dog guiding Simon away from the slippery bank. She rushed to her son, tears streaming down her face, hugging him tightly. "Thank God you're safe." Turning to the dog, Francesca knelt and reached out. "I don't know who you are, but you saved my child. Thank you." The dog wagged its tail slightly, but there was something distant in its gaze, as if its mission wasn't yet complete. Just as Francesca was calming down, a hunter emerged from the trees. "Is everything all right, ma'am?" he asked, his tone oddly curious. "Yes, we're fine. This dog saved my son." The hunter eyed the dog. "Strange. You don't see dogs like that around here. Could be useful." The dog growled softly, standing protectively between the hunter and Francesca. They hurried away from the woods, the dog guiding them until they reached the park's exit. Francesca looked down at Simon, who clung to the dog's fur. "He's my angel," the child whispered. A car pulled up, and a man stepped out, his face lighting up with recognition. "Max." Francesca looked at him in confusion. "You know this dog?" "He's mine," the man said, his voice breaking with relief. "A rescue dog. He's been missing since an accident months ago." Max looked at the man but returned to Simon's side, as if torn between past duty and a newfound purpose. The man crouched down, his voice gentle. "Max, come home." The dog barked softly but didn't leave Simon's side. The man sighed. "I understand. Maybe he's found someone else who needs him more." Moved by the bond between Simon and the dog, the man offered a compromise. "I'll leave you my number. If you ever need help with him, call me. Just promise you'll take care of him like he deserves." Francesca nodded. "You have my word." Max quickly became part of their family, showing extraordinary intelligence and devotion. But one night, he began barking at the front door, his body tense and alert. Francesca looked through the peephole and saw a shadowy figure attempting to force the lock. Her heart pounded. "Who's there?" she shouted. The figure fled, but Max's growl didn't subside. The next morning, as Francesca walked Simon to daycare, she noticed a man trailing them, his gaze fixed on Max. The dog positioned himself protectively between them and the man. "Is everything okay?" Francesca asked, her voice trembling. The man smiled with unsettling calmness. "Just curious. That dog looks like one I was looking for." Francesca's voice hardened. "He's with us now." The stranger walked away, but Francesca's unease only deepened. She called the rescue worker, explaining what happened. "It's possible someone wants Max for his skills. He's special. They might have bad intentions." Francesca decided to involve the hunter from the park, who offered his help. That night, someone tried breaking into her home again. Max's ferocity drove the intruder away. Days passed, and Max's vigilance never wavered. Simon often hugged him and said, "You're my hero." And Francesca knew it was true. Max had become more than just a stray dog. He was their guardian, their protector. And his place was with them.